up to the 30, the 20, 10, 5, Torrey Horton back to the end zone.
48-yard play. Guess who? Body up the middle, making another move to the outside. 15, 10, end zone again.
Keeps it. Nice move by Brown. He's got space. He's got 6. 35-yard touchdown for Byron Brown. A record-setting night for the South Florida quarterback.
Down so far, a little bit of a high snap. Genty right up the middle. Genty has room. Ashton Genty, give him 6.
Second and long. Lagar tries to fit it in. Ramos, it does. Ramos stays up. The Suns offense 4-3 wins. Incredible effort for Ramos.
The G5 Hive. All G5, all the time.
Welcome to the G5 Hive Live, and we are excited to bring you the G5 college football coverage you love each and every week. I am Justice. Luke is having some technical difficulties. Hopefully, he will be able to join us here momentarily. While Luke's working on his issues, we hit a special milestone this past week. We had 1,000 followers on X. So we want to thank everyone for all their support. We can't thank you enough for that. And if you're not following us on X, please go follow us on X. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube. And if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you're watching on X, please give us a follow, a like, and a retweet. And if you're listening in podcast form, please rate and review. Also, don't forget the G5 Hive merchandise store is now live. The link is in the YouTube video comments, and it is also here on the bottom of your screen on YouTube.
All right, give me a second here as I get prepped. We have our Week 13 games in review. We have our midweek G5 matchups where we had Akron at Kent State. Ben Finley, 14 for 29, 250 yards, 1 touchdown. Simmons with 11 carries, 113 yards, and Norton with 5 receptions for 107 yards. Again, gets the W.
Yeah, that's the one Tuesday night game I did not watch any of. I spent my time watching the other 2 games. Kent State has not played well. Akron got off to an early lead, and that game was pretty much over at halftime.
I should also mention that Charles Killiam and Jordan Simmons both went over 100 yards in that game. So Akron rushing attack. Big one. We got Western Michigan at Central Michigan. This one was not the outcome that I had anticipated, but Central Michigan gets the W. 16-14. Glasser with 140 yards passing, 1 interception. Marion Lukes, 15 carries for 93 yards. And then Davis with 3 receptions, 73 yards for Central Michigan. And Solomon Davis, sorry.
This I watched this game, or most of this game, and the takeaway for me there, I certainly expected Western Michigan would win, but the Central Michigan defense played lights out. They were harassing Hayden Wolf all night long, and as someone that's watched Hayden Wolf play many times in person, he does not handle pressure well at all, and Central Michigan was pressuring him all night, and that was really the difference in the game, that the defense of Central Michigan played lights out, harassed Hayden Wolf, and that Western Michigan offense just couldn't get things going.
All right. Northern Illinois at Miami. Miami pulls out the win 20-9. Brett Gabbert, 207 yards passing, 1 INT. Mosey with 14 carries for 91 yards for Miami of Ohio. No touchdowns. That's kind of par on course for Miami of Ohio. He'll get close to 100, if not over, and just doesn't seem to be getting those touchdowns. And then 4 receptions for 107 yards and a touchdowns for Reggie Virgil. What do you think about this one?
The story of this game was defense once again. That Miami of Ohio defense, we've talked about them the last several weeks. They didn't start the year off as stout as we expected them to be, but they have come on strong at the end of the season. That Miami defense is really stout with Matt Salopek, Ty Wise, and linebacker Brian Ugwu getting pressure on the opposing quarterback from his defensive end position. That Miami team is looks like a team destined and primed to play for a MAC championship.
All right, moving over to Wednesday, we had Buffalo at Eastern Michigan. Cole Snyder, former Buffalo quarterback, now at Eastern Michigan. He was 24 for 33 for 351 yards and 3 touchdowns. Aljay Henderson for Buffalo, 25 carries, 86 yards rushing, and 1 touchdown. And then Allen for Eastern Michigan, 9 receptions, 187 yards, and 1 touchdown by Allen. Marcus Allen. I'm really bad at giving these first names. But yeah, this one was a fun game if you got a chance to watch it.
Yeah, it was like every time, but it felt like every time Eastern Michigan got some momentum going, Buffalo would like hit them with a dagger. Whether it was the 75-yard touchdown catch by Aljay Henderson, the 60-yard pick six by Sean Dolak, like every time you thought Eastern Michigan, hey, they're gonna make a comeback, they're getting back in this game, Buffalo would like just hit them with a dagger straight to the heart, man.
Yeah, there was a couple trades of 70-plus yard touchdowns in this one.
Yeah, it was. It was a good game. It was a good game. A lot of ebbs and flows, but like I said, that Buffalo, Buffalo would get it. Was it offensively or defensively? Whenever Eastern Michigan would get some momentum, would kind of have a big play and swing the momentum back in their favor.
All right, and then next game on Wednesday, we had Ohio at Toledo. Ohio wins 24-7. Tucker Gleason, 9 for 17, 136 yards passing, 1 touchdown. Anthony Tyus, the third, 33 carries, 125 yards, and 1 touchdown. And then Caleb Gassett, is that right? Caleb Gassett? Because he took over. He had a big game when Coleman Owen
went out.
I'm trying to remember his stats. It was something like 80, 90 yards, 6 receptions.
He had 6 catches for 86 yards.
Yeah, so this was a tough loss there for Toledo, but prime spot there for Ohio to make the MAC championship game.
It was an ugly game in the first half. It was 7-0 Toledo. They had the 1 touchdown drive, and to be honest with you, that was the only drive they had the whole game. They didn't score anymore the rest of the game, and they didn't really do much on offense the rest of the game. Ohio struggled on offense in the first half. I mean, it was pretty brutal. But then in the second half, they got Anthony Tyus going. Parker Navarro got going on the ground. They both ended up with over 100 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns on the ground between the two of them. And Ohio defense, man, they pretty much shut that Toledo offense down and Tucker Gleason. Towards the end of the game, they actually pulled Tucker Gleason and inserted John Allen Richter because they thought they would have to pass more. And I guess Richter has a better arm or is a better passer than Gleason. But he wasn't able to get anything going either. That Ohio defense they got some ballers. They got Bradley Weaver, Marcel Walker Burgess on that defensive line, Shea Taylor at linebacker, Austin Brawley safety. That Ohio defense is, I would say, in my opinion, is right up there with Miami of Ohio in terms of the top defenses in the MAC. And they showed it on Wednesday night against Toledo.
Well, if you want to go from one ugly game, let's go over to another ugly game. I know it's out of order, but let's just stick with the ugliness. On Friday night, we had UNLV at San Jose State, and that rain that they had, that was just a gross. I thought it was going to be a great shootout, just so bad. UNLV went 7-16. Surprisingly, like San Jose State was winning at halftime, 16-10. And if you're doing the math, I said 27-16 was the final. So that wasn't great. Hajj Malik Williams, 11 for 20, 131 yards passing, 1 touchdown. Jaden Thomas, UNLV, 26 carries, 135 yards, 1 touchdown. And Ricky White, the third, 7 receptions for 98 yards. I don't know what was going on. I don't know what coach has on Emmett Brown, because I would have thought that he would have made it appear. I don't know what's going on.
I mean, the weather was awful. There's no denying that. The weather was awful. It was pouring down rain. It was windy.
UNLV played in the same weather, though.
Oh, that's going to be my point. Hajj Malik Williams was 11 for 20. Walker Eget was 4 for 22. 4 for 22. He was god-awful. It was bad. And, not even a sniff of Emmett Brown. And it just absolutely blows my mind. We've talked about it numerous times on the show. The offense functions so much better under Emmett Brown. Obviously, coaches don't agree, and they are committed to that decision. Emmett Brown must have slept with the coach's daughter or something, man. Because it doesn't make any sense.
I think hits the transfer portal, and
absolutely,
he would actually be pretty fun. I think at Hawaii.
I think he does absolutely hit the portal. Yeah, no question.
All right, now to a little bit better of a game, at least playing wise, happened earlier in the night. UTSA versus Temple. UTSA wins 51-27. Dante Wright, Temple wide receiver, having a great year. He has 5 receptions, 128 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Robert Henry for UTSA, he was a beast. 16 carries, 178 yards, rushing, 2 touchdowns. Owen McCowan, 20 for 27, 220 yards, and a touchdown. Chris Carpenter had a kickoff return game. But yeah, the UTSA, they are the last 3-4 weeks. They are really starting to click. And if they would have played like that earlier in the season, wow. Probably could have won the American.
Yeah, this wasn't much of a game. UTSA was blowing them out from the get-go. Like you said, it's good to see UTSA kind of get to where everyone expected. And they've been on a roll here lately, and hopefully they can carry that momentum over and into 2025.
All right, our G5 versus P4 matchup. Let's see here. We have UConn at Syracuse. Give me a quick second.
Connecticut played them tough. Didn't get the win, obviously, but I thought that they played Syracuse tough.
I did not get to watch any of that game, so I've got no opinions of it. Kyle
McCord had an awesome game. 474 yards, 470 yards, 2 touchdowns. I expected Connecticut to lose, but they kept it close within 7. So I think as far as I'm concerned, I consider that a win for Connecticut. They handled themselves well in the game. They weren't embarrassed. Yeah.
All right. Another one, UMass at Georgia. I was actually surprised because when I saw the ticker, I saw UMass up 7-0. Georgia ends up winning 59-21. But I do think the 21 is kind of interesting. I did tune into that game a little bit. UMass kicker missed a couple couple field goals. Georgia pulls away. But yeah.
I mean, and they're on their second string really quarterback, UMass is. So I don't know, like the fact they put up 21 on Georgia, I consider that a win as well. Because I wouldn't have expected to put any points on Georgia.
Yeah, they just ran the ball really well, which I didn't think you could do against that Georgia defensive line. But yeah, they did really, really good job there. Then you had kind of the opposite. It was
good. It was good for a quarter.
Yeah, we got UTEP at Tennessee is 0-0 after the end of the first. and then Tennessee kind of turned it on. They win 56-0. I don't know if there's really much to talk about here.
Yeah, no, not much positive to take away other than the first quarter, where UTEP played well.
And then another game, as I search for, I got to come up with something a little bit better here. I don't know what's going on. Everything's messed up on my screen here. But another game was Louisiana Tech at Arkansas. This one, again, was a lot closer at the very beginning of the day. I'm still trying to find everything. So
Yeah,
this
it
was
was 0-0 after the first quarter.
0-0 at the end of the first quarter. 35-14 was the final in this one.
14-0 at halftime.
I did not put any eyes on it, but yeah, 14-0 at halftime. I was kind of surprising there for Louisiana Tech.
I mean, yeah, it was respectable.
And then the game we were all kind of looking forward to, and that was Army versus Notre Dame. And Notre Dame handled business. It was similar to the game that they had against Navy a couple weeks before. I would assume that kind of helped them seeing that before Army, to be honest, because I do think.
Well, I would say this one was even more impressive than the game against Navy because Navy had a lot of turnovers. Their Army did not have a lot of turnovers. They only had one fumble in the game, one turnover. And so the game against Navy had like 3 or 4 turnovers.
Yeah.
This was a much more dominant performance by Notre Dame. But obviously, like you said, playing Navy probably helped.
And I think, Notre Dame put in their backups, I think, towards the end of the third quarter, maybe it's the whole fourth quarter. Yeah, Notre Dame gets the win over Army.
I mean, Bryson Daly did get 139 yards and 2 touchdowns in the game, but yeah, they other than that, they didn't do much else offensively.
All right. And then our Saturday featured G5 versus G5 matchups. We have Sam Houston at Jacksonville State. I was pumped for this one. As you know, the season has gone along, and I've got to know the teams a little bit more when we do our Worker Bee series and expectations. Sam Houston was searching for a win last year. The ball just kind of bounced the wrong way a couple times. So I was like, all right, I've adopted Sam Houston. I really like what they can do. They lose this one 21-11. Hunter Watson did a lot of work on the ground as well, kind of like Tyler Huff, but Tyler Huff with those 30 carries, 177 yards, 3 touchdowns. Noah Smith, 6 receptions for 65 yards for Sam Houston. Hunter Watson threw for 84 yards. This was like watching
Army versus Navy.
Yeah, this was watching Army versus Navy. It was just running the ball, quarterbacks running the ball. But like I mentioned earlier, when Tyler Huff took that like 38-yard run to the house, Sam Houston just had a hard time trying to get back. They had opportunities, but they missed a couple field goals too. So Sam Houston's special teams didn't do them any favors. They could have, and like I said, they could have tied the game at 14. Missed the field goal. Tyler Huff takes them down there on that 14 play drive and scores there at the end. So
huge game for the winner.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
Jacksonville State. Yeah, locked them into the championship.
And then the next game, Western Kentucky at Liberty. Liberty wins 38-21. Quentin Cooley, big game, 166 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. Veltkamp, 262 through the air and 2 touchdowns. And then Keyshawn Johnson, wide receiver at Western Kentucky, 7 receptions, 94 yards, and a touchdown. I did not get eyes on this one.
It looks like turnovers was the tail of the tape.
I just watched like bits and pieces. I didn't watch enough to get like a vibes, but like I think I turned it on like 4 or 5 different times, and like 2 of those times were Cooley's touchdowns. Like,
Veltkamp had 3 interceptions. They also lost a fumble. Keyshawn Johnson lost a fumble, so he had 4 turnovers. Versus looks like Liberty only had 1 turnover. So that's I didn't watch the game. I was at ODU pretty much all day. But yeah, looks like the turnovers is what did Western Kentucky in.
And then let's see here. UL Monroe at Arkansas State. Arkansas State wins 28-21. Freshman Ahmad Hardy, 30 carries, 204 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Jalen Rayner, 170 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. And then Jackson for Arkansas State, 6 receptions, 69 yards, and a touchdown. Courtney Jackson. Gosh, I'm awful at these first names. But yeah, this was a big game. And Rayner played well in this one, which is, again, he's been kind of up and down this season. But Arkansas State is 7 points each quarter. Ahmad Hardy had a big game. I think if you play at UL Monroe probably gets this win.
I mean, UL Monroe's. I don't know that they're going to be able to hold on to Ahmad Hardy after this year. I think some folks with some money are going to come calling. But if they do manage to hold on to Ahmad Hardy, they got to get the guy some help. Like, he is their entire offense, and he can't win games by himself. The defense, which was playing phenomenal in the beginning of the year, has been a big letdown here in the second half of the year. So hopefully UL Monroe can hang on to Hardy and get him some help for next year.
All right, and then East Carolina at North Texas. East Carolina wins 40-28. Caden Hauser, 298 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Raja Harris, 24 carries, 128 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. And then this one was just on the ground. Raja Harris, obviously the 3 touchdowns, but they could run the ball really well, especially in that second half.
And North Texas blew a 21-point lead in this game.
Yeah, they were up 20. They were up 21-7 at half. East Carolina puts up 24 points in the third quarter, but Rajay Harris just sealed that game for them, and they just handled everything really well. Ever since they made that coaching change in this 4-game winning streak, Rajay Harris has really been utilized just incrementally more and more, and he's had double-digit touches the last 2 games, and I think in those 4 games, he's gone over 100 yards rushing in 3 of those 4 games. I think he had 55 in one of the games, but he got a touchdown. They're putting him to good use, and he's benefited from the coaching change too.
North Texas, man, has just gone completely in the wrong direction. Like I said, they were up 21-0 in this game, and then they do nothing. That offense has not looked good since Damon Ward returned. Don't know why that is. I don't know if they're trying to force the ball to Ward versus some of the other receivers or what's going on. But I wouldn't be shocked if they continue this free fall that Chandler
Morris.
No, well, not Chandler Morris. The head coach, Eric Morris, is fired.
Well,
it wouldn't it would not shock me. I mean, they already fired the defensive coordinator in midseason.
Well, is North Texas in the American?
They are in the American.
Well, then there's a really good chance that the coach gets fired, because that's the only coaches that are losing their jobs.
I mean, they've lost 1, 2, 3. They've lost 5 in a row. They started the season 5-1, and now they are 0-5.
That's a position tree. Do you coach in the American? Yes or no? No, you're safe. Yes, you're on the chopping block.
I mean, they play Temple this week, and if they can't beat Temple to get to bowl eligibility, I feel confident saying that Eric Morris will lose his job.
All right. Talk about another team on a skid. Marshall versus Old Dominion. I'm going to tell you, Marshall's not on a skid.
Marshall's not on a skid.
Marshall wins this one 42-35. This one was a high-scoring game. if you check out any of my writing on fan tracks or whatnot, I did highlight Colton Joseph as a player to watch. He had a great game, 158 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, 227 yards passing, 1 touchdown. But Marshall, Justice's player of the week. Braylon Braxton with a huge game as well. Talk us through it. What was it like being there?
Man, it was an exciting game because it felt like whoever had the ball last was going to win. Like neither defense was able to really stop the other offense. What was there was ODU's defense stopped Marshall one time in the second half. One time. That one time they stopped them on a 3-and-out. Marshall punted the ball, and the ODU guy proceeded to muff the punt, fumble the punt. Marshall got the ball like on the 14-yard line, 15-yard line. Very next play, touchdown Marshall. And so that was the turning point in the game. Just that mistake was a huge, shift in momentum, huge turning point. ODU special teams it was rough. It was rough. They had trouble on kickoffs all night. Matter of fact, I asked Coach Ronnie in the post-game press conference about that specific issue, and basically he said that they got burned a couple times in the kickoff return, and so they tried kicking the ball to different spots, different folks. It was just a mess. It was a mess, and Marshall was the better team. I will say, if there was a bright spot, Old Dominion held Mike Green, the nation's leader in sacks, pretty much in check. I was watching that. I was watching him all night, and the offensive line did a heck of a job against Mike Green. So kudos to the offensive line. Yeah, the defense couldn't get a stop. ODU had the ball down a touchdown. I don't know, like 3 minutes left, and it was like 3rd and 6. And if it was me, I would have ran the ball on that play, got it to like 4th and 2, whatever, and then went for it on 4th down. ODU didn't. They passed the ball, then didn't go for it on 4th down. They're already down 7, only 3 minutes left of the game, and Coach Ronnie thought his defense, who hadn't gotten a stop but one in the whole second half, was going to get a stop. And we know how that ended. They didn't get a stop. ODU loses the game. Kudos to Marshall. They played a great game. Braylon, why Marshall did anything other than run Braylon Braxton or throw it to Christian Fitzpatrick, I have no earthly idea. Because ODU could not stop Christian Fitzpatrick, and they could not stop Braylon Braxton when he decided to run the ball.
That was, kind of. I think you mentioned it earlier a couple weeks ago when it got to this 4th down call, I think, and you're like, "Oh, coaches, we're going to punt it," and then called a timeout, and then they went for it, and you're like, "Oh, wow, that kind of, that was a shocker."
That was a couple weeks ago. Yes.
What were you thinking about this one? You're like, "Oh, they're definitely gonna punt it," and then they do what they do.
He was asked that question during the post-game press conference, and his answer was, "Well, it's easy to second guess now, but I thought our defense would get a stop." Like, come on, dude. Like, I don't know. Like, this my mentality and Coach Ronnie's mentality, I think, are very different. I'd rather win trying to win versus what I characterize his coaching philosophy is win by trying to not lose. He's so conservative. And, your defense hasn't stopped that offense except for one time in the entire second half. You keep the ball in the hands of your offense and you keep going. Like, again, as soon as they threw the ball on that 3rd down play, I'm like, hey, they ain't going for it on 4th down. Because to me, if you're going to go for it on 4th, you can't get 6 yards, run the ball in 2 plays. Something's wrong. So, yeah. Conservative. A phrase I like to use when I describe his coaching philosophy: scared money doesn't make money, and that's kind of how he coaches.
And then to wrap up our games from week 13. We have Colorado State at Fresno State. Fresno State's been hasn't been super great lately. Colorado State, all you need to do is win, sets you up perfect for a Mountain West championship bid as long as you can handle business in the next week. Fresno State comes out and wins this one 28-22, 7-7 at the end of the first quarter. 21 points put up by Fresno State in the second quarter, so they're up 28-7, and that's all they really needed in this one to cruise. Freshman Donaldson had the 12 carries for 140 yards and touchdown in our freshman of the week. This one was a game owned by Fresno State. Mikey Keene had a great game throwing the ball. And Colorado's just in catch-up mode the whole second half. The score makes it look a lot closer than it actually was. And Fresno State kind of plays a spoiler in Colorado's chances here at a Mountain West championship.
Yeah, Colorado State's first loss and probably ruins their shot at a conference championship.
All right, guys, make sure if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you are watching us on X, please give us a follow, a like, a retweet. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please rate and review. That's going to do it for us tonight. We're not going to do usually we do some fantasy football stuff at the end. If you want some names, go ahead DM us. We've got a couple. I've got a Fan Tracks article that will come out Thursday. I wait till after the waiver wire's gone to see what's still out there, because there are going to be plenty of names still out there if you need them. But
yeah, come back and join us next week. We'll go over what happened in week 14, and then we'll get you ready for those conference championship games.
Yep, and then we'll bring you up to date on all the latest news and happening in the world of G5 college football. Again, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you're watching us on X, please give us a retweet, a like, and a follow. And if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please subscribe and leave those 5-star ratings. Thank you all for your support. Until next week, we are the G5 Hive.
First